Hello, everyone. My name is Molly.
Hi, I'm Maria.
And we are here with our last video in the series for Project Pack No.20. This was a fun one, so it's really been quite enjoyable. This Project Pack series is all about the tangle genus of blossoming tangles. And by this time, you guys have probably blossomed quite a lot in this. As you can see, these were these great materials we used with the shades of gray and the red jelly roll and the graphites and really working with layers. And it's just been such a blast with this process. And it looks like here we're going to start off with our lighter gray pen.
It's the 05.
Yeah, and we're working with a tangle called
Drawings.
This is a great tangle that we released at our very first Zen Again we did years ago. And it was, the event was all about flight. And this was the tangle that we played with. And right here, I'm just starting off with an anchor. So really just creating an orb with another series of orbs inside there and just doing a little detail on there. It's like a little medallion for us to anchor our drawings. And I think sometimes just putting a little bit of a detail like that sort of like creates the space a little bit more. So now we're going to start with these strokes that come right off of this orb. And as you can see, I'm sort of drawing them in the air first to get a feel for where that stroke is going to go. And that's like, would you say it's
a slight S shape?
Yeah,
right?
That's what I was going to say, Mom. It's kind of like a drawn out S shape.
Yeah.
And we're using the takeoff and land technique right off that orb. So it's like tracing over that orb and then kind of just coming off of it in these beautiful sort of,
arcs.
So it's really stretched out S shape, right? Yeah.
Well, actually, it's not an S. It would be a 2.
I guess it, yes.
Yeah.
And then you can see I didn't go quite to the middle of it, but went up a little bit and then created these sort of, I guess that's like if you were drawing waves in the ocean, sort of.
Well, it's been a long time since I've drawn this, and
I know,
it's really
right?
nice to see it again.
It's a fun one.
Yeah.
And I did 3 kind of humps. It's 1, 2, 3. But if you have more space, you could do more, but that's kind of the rhythm I played with there.
Beautiful. Or you can also see the feathering coming.
I know. And of course, we're using the materials that came in our Project Pack envelopes, but if you don't have them, you could play around with some other ones. So we're using this series of the gray microns, which is a really fun way to create layers. So starting off with this light gray pen allows you to later on go back and play around with depth. And I like this light gray pen because it looks like pencil. It's like the liquid version of pencil. It's really fun. So I'm just using those, the points of those humps to kind of go back and connect at that original anchor point. That anchor point becomes so important as we go through here.
It already looks beautiful.
Right, and that's pretty much our basic drawings. And I'm using these, I guess these little core columns I created to smush some orbs in. So I used that arc that was in that those humps or whatever we made and as the first part of my orb, and then working up there. I'm going to do it again.
Like pearls,
right?
Yeah.
So kind of using that first arc to be part of an orb, and then just smushing them in one by one, each one kind of falling behind the previous one. Again, using that light gray pen.
Once you use this gray pen, you're going to use it all the time.
So you're going to want to stop your video and get your orbs in there and take your time. A lot of times we'll skip ahead where there's a lot of repetition so that our videos don't become quite so long. But just take your time filling those orbs, finding your rhythm. breathing.
It's a great meditation when you have to do so many things over and over, but then keep your mind on it and appreciate the shapes and the things that are coming without your knowledge.
Yep. And I'm just going back now to fill in those little interstices. I love that word. And just, it's almost like you're revisiting each stroke. I love these tiles where the layers go in so slowly and methodically and each time going back in and adding a little bit here and a little bit there. And it's so interesting to see how your composition builds because when it's done, you couldn't have predicted how all of it went through, So just reworking each column, each spot, each orb, and just taking my time. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
So the act of doing what she's doing right here with the filling in, it takes away that line that was there, and now it's dubious as to whether there was a line there, right?
Yeah. It's already taken it in another direction. Oh, so here I'm just adding a basic aura to sort of, I think, redefine the edge of my drawings. Drawings is spelled D-R-A-W-I-N-G-S. So the last part is pronounced like a wing. It's funny.
It's hard to say it.
I know.
Beautiful.
So this is a little bit out of, I'm actually adding shading now, and then I'm going to go back in with pen. So it's like opening up another way to create things. The shading doesn't always have to go at the end.
That's interesting what you just did, Molly.
Right?
I've never seen that before.
I know,
That's kind of cool.
I'm adding a little bit of graphite in this untraditional way, but it creates a fun little sparkle. There's so many ways to do this, but I basically drew an orb softly with the graphite and then kind of put two little arcs on either side, almost like an eyeball. A little bit like an eyeball, and then some shadow right at the bottom. So you can see the shadow at the bottom touches the edge of the orb, but the shadow at the top leaves that white space. And it looks a little curious, but then when you put them all together, it's kind of it's similar to the way some people might do a gem or something when you We are continuing to shade, add nice bits of graphite here and there. And once you find your rhythm with this, it's just kind of, and yours is going to look a little bit different, but it's just a way to create a dimensionality with these orbs. They're like magical pearls, right? Stuck,
very
they're
pearl-like,
embedded into this wing. Makes it look sort of special. And it's complex bit of shading. This takes shading to almost like it's a tangle, right? So we're almost adding another layer with our graphite. And it's not just adding, bits of graphite here and there. It's very deliberate and methodical and adds to the detail of the tangle. So it's a nice, fun approach, I think.
Well, when you're doing, if you think about when you shade reticular in fragments, it would be probably like that, right? So the reticular here is the orbs.
Yeah. And then as you get towards the top where the orbs are so tiny, you kind of just fudge it and it becomes just more shading. And this is a great one. Obviously, again, you'll want to pause your video and get caught up here because, and this is just a little thing where I like to go back in with my pencil and add some dramatic darkness here and there. And just kind of to add definition. And now I have my my black pen, the 01, it's much finer, and I'm going back over some of these lines to create dramatic drawings.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
Right,
I
that's
know.
alliteration. Yeah, I love that.
And this is a little technique here too. I'm pulling from that one edge of the vertical stroke that came down, and I'm kind of not going all the way over, if you notice. Sorry, I'm blocking it a little bit here. And then inking in some of that interstices there. So it's a fun little, you can see once you finish one, you're like, oh, okay, that's what we're looking for here. And so again, redefining that original line. Doing this after we shade, which is kind of interesting. And then just bringing that black line partway over the top there. Creates a little dramatic shadow of sorts.
The black brings some real excitement.
Right?
Excitement, yeah.
Yeah, I like it too. I think it's kind of interesting. And I think when you put, like, you're very selective with the black, you get some definition. So I only did it on that one side. So again, you get a little bit of variation there. It's fun.
And don't forget that this is a texture. We didn't set out to do pearls or anything.
Right.
It was meant to be a texture of the wing.
Yep. And then again, you're, obviously going to want to pause your video in between here, but I went back in and added a little red inside that medallion because, and then a little bit of white on top there. And now I'm going back in and adding a little bit more graphite over what we've already done here just to really, really exaggerate how dark it is up by that medallion. And then a little bit more shadow where that black line went in here and there.
I love the sculpting part of Zentangle. You could do some shading, but then afterwards, when you analyze the piece itself, you want to go in and maybe add some love here and there, and that's what you're doing here.
Right. And I'm trying to sort of just put a shadow where those original S curves were that we brought down, just to like really make that. And then this is sort of an optional part of it where I kind of went back in where that's, highlight is and added a little bit of jelly roll. So again, you're going to want to pause your video so that you can take as much time as you want with every stage here. So much repetition involved, but just make sure you, ooh.
Pretty.
Yeah.
Looks nice.
Make sure you take as much time as you need. Playing around with like putting a little shading on just one side. And again, that original texture. These blossoming tangles really pair up great with texture tangles. So orbs and any kind of, ooh.
So I'm going to come in here as the tag team.
Yep.
This is Mom. And I'm going to do I tried to find a tangle that was so out there opposite, right? And try to work it in. So we're going to do a form of vertigo that I probably haven't taught yet. And we're going to start with the nice stem.
That's the light gray pen?
Yeah.
This is a very unpredictable pairing, which is, I like
right.
this, yeah.
So the way I'm doing this is I'm putting that spine down and then making it a little bit heavier and coloring that in. So you come back from an aura and then fill that in with that gray. And like the vertigo we've done in the past, we go back and go do the other side.
This is a great example of actually 2 tangles, even though vertigo is traditionally it's a great example of an organic tangle. It many times does become like a blossoming tangle because it sits alone very well. It becomes a structure that sort of has this presence and a lot of times doesn't work well with others. It's hard to figure out, like, how do I pair this with another tangle? Or oh, that's pretty, Mom.
So I'm going to go back and draw on both sides of that stem, and it's going to give the needle, or what you wouldn't call it, a leaf, or maybe a leaf, but it's just going to make it a little bit different each time.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that fun?
It's like almost fern-like, right?
Yeah. But you have to do these completely each time, because when we start drawing behind, all of these lines have to be there.
It's pretty just like that.
And I'm going to add a couple of more. So now the next layer of this vertigo, we're going to go draw behind the ones that we first drew.
I love this iteration.
Yeah, and what this does is you really see that drawing behind with this.
It really complements the next to the drawings that's so open, you know, and this has some nice repetition of dark lines, even with the gray. So that's very successful. I like that.
I love doing vertigo because it's always such an unexpected, beautiful thing. You know?
My goodness,
like,
right?
We've used it a lot.
That's gorgeous, Mom. That's great. Really neat. The gray pens are interesting too, because you notice, like, by putting like many strokes over, you do get a little bit darker strokes, which is nice.
So this is the 01.
Black.
Yes.
Yep.
So you can see I'm defining those first 2 strokes and giving it even more detail.
Very cool. Just little by little. It's like kind of choosing what you're going to do next and then going through the process of doing that and then pausing and reflecting and kind of figure out what you need. Or
so it's sort of been customary for whoever's doing these videos, sort of changing things on the fly, because, you know, we all have our tiles that we're going to do and how we were going to do it. But because Zentangle is so organic, sometimes things come up that we didn't see before, and opportunities, and just the randomness of tangles.
yeah, I think that's what is interesting, especially if you're working with somebody on a tile. There isn't, as you know, you try to work through an idea with somebody, but then you want to give that person that opportunity to work with something that makes sense to whatever it is they're doing. So when we originally were working through this idea of doing a drawings tile, I think we had all orbs. We had a lot of orbs here. And then it was like, oh, well, do we need to do this second layer the same as the first? Let's play around with what else we can put there. And the vertigo thing was so unexpected and wonderful. It was fun to do that. So she's playing with a little layering here. That's fun. Not afraid to color outside the lines, that's for sure.
been my strong suit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely going to play more with this vertigo. So fun, so beautiful. And the black, going back in with the black really does.
It does, yeah.
Help
it's
that.
Kinda unexpected, and it gives you that feeling of, to me, when you get to that point, when you're adding all these little different details, that's when the artist in me comes out. I can just go work with what's there already and just, frost the cake, add all kinds of things.
Yeah, totally. It's really cool. And this process of working with these gray pens, I find to be like really cool for building like depth in your composition, because you start off with the grays and then you build and you add, and that's when you get this really sophisticated feeling to your work. It's like putting down a layer of pattern, putting down another layer, and then another layer, and each time just trying to make one simple choice of what you're going to do next, and then doing that thing and not worrying about what the next 20 steps are, but just worrying about what the next step is and then following in. See how she's finishing in here, and just, that idea of adding love, going this way and that.
They're so fanciful, like
I know.
almost a feather, but not a feather,
Right.
Is it a plant? Is it what exactly is it? And I like it when those leaves sort of get, they sort of go back onto the stem, and it looks more organic, right?
Yeah, and you're just doing that thing where you retrace the stem going around where it almost like they've planted themselves growing off.
Right. Look how fun that is, right?
It's really neat. That's a fun one. I can see all the variations people are going to come up with.
Yeah. Reminds me of that plant we got that grew out of the shell.
Uh-huh.
What was
The
that?
air plants.
An air
Those
plant.
are cool.
Yeah, it could be an air plant with vertigo.
Yeah, it's just adding some shading. Again, remembering how like the edge of your pencil can be so soft, her pencil is really sharp, but by putting it on its side and just putting down this really broad stroke, you get a nice soft bit of graphite. It's so nice. She's just barely kissing the paper to get it introduced to the surface. Really nice. Oh, that is really pretty, Mom. Different, right? I don't know what kind of bird has feathers like this, but
we'll have to research that.
Right?
So I'm adding my little bits of red here, and I thought I'm not sure
Festive.
what grows on these plants, but certainly they could be berries.
And she makes it look accidental that she's leaving that little white bit uncolored, but it's very effective highlight, right? So when she goes in, she doesn't go quite into the middle, and they look almost, gem-like sitting there. So pretty. This red jelly roll, we probably already said it now that we're at the end of this, but it's one of the original colors in the Jelly Roll series, and it's so raw, like it's red,
It's vibrant.
Yeah,
and you don't want a lot of it there. You just need a little.
Yeah, and I've really enjoyed working with this palette where the strength is in this like gray tones and black and graphite and whites, and then just adding just a little bit of red here and there to totally change. And as a series, now that you maybe have a bunch of these tiles, they really play well together. It's fun to see them. We have ours all sprawled out here, and I'm like, oh, I love this grouping of tiles. And I also love this project pack as complementary series after the last one we did, which was so different than this. So this is a nice break to work on individual compositions and play around with this really fun genus of blossoming tangles. They really stand alone quite well. Oh, I'm putting a little chop on here, Mom.
It's my sometimes chop.
Your sometimes chop. Very cute. Well, I had fun working with you on this tile, that's for sure. And I hope you all have enjoyed this tile and this series and learning about blossoming tangles, learning about drawings and vertigo. And thank you, Mom, for joining me.
That was great. I'd love to. Let's do that again sometime.
You want to do it again?
I do.
Okay. Well, it's a date then.
Okay.
I think we'll do it all again.
Next time.
Yeah. Like we said, this was an original variation, playing with drawings, a little bit different. And
that had more like a peacock feel to it, right? You
yeah.
know,
Yeah,
really
just
pretty.
exploring
It's
some variations.
Really, that is really pretty.
Yeah, so join us for the wrap-up as we bring this Project Pack 20 to a close.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.